What do you miss most about your childhood? Write in the comments what you think about this. Enjoy the show. Story 1. Everything freaking everything. Open windows on summer nights, hearing the crickets and smelling fresh-cut grass, swimming, riding bikes, climbing trees, sleepovers and scary movies and junk food with my girlfriends, the pumpkin patch and trick-or-treating at my elementary school with the cakewalk and haunted house, laying in my parents' waterbed on Sunday late afternoons watching TV, relaxing before the school week, blowing on Nintendo games, Blockbuster, 3D Doritos and Orbits, running the streets with your buddies knowing to be home before dark, backyard BBQs and parties, cutting my sister off dial-up when I needed the phone by picking it up multiple times, BSB posters, the obscenely large 6-disc CD players, a paper TV guide, the drive-in theater in winters with actual snow, so we spent the days sledding to come into hot cocoa and warming in front of the fire. I could go on and on. I'm in my late 30s and I love my family, but miss my childhood so much. Being an adult sucks. Bring back the carefree days. Now excuse me while I continue to reminisce before I have to go back to adult mode. Story 2. Not being mentally ill and having a very healthy body. I also played and studied an instrument for years, but suddenly couldn't anymore due to a long story. I can never pick it back up again unless I got 10K lying around for a 40 pounds instrument. Story 3. It's hard to pinpoint just one thing without being boringly vague anyways. One specific thing I do very much miss, though, would have to be playing all sorts of video games, both single player and with my siblings, and never feeling like my time was fleeting in doing so. Story 4. Seeing mom daily because he was a housewife and I was an only child for most of my life. We have parted ways ever since, and even though we still call each other every single day, our relationship's different. I also miss having no worries and thinking the world was at my feet and that I could go on to achieve everything in life that I have so far failed at. Story 5. I miss the peace of mind I used to have and the good moments I had with my family when they were still united. I especially miss a New Year's Eve when we went to the beach. Everything was dark and we went out using blankets to watch the fireworks in the distance. I'll never forget that feeling and that view, the moon shining on the sea, and we were all happy at that moment. Story 6. I miss the time when I was fighting or playing with my siblings all the time. I miss it. It's so nice to wake up together in the same bed and go to sleep in the same bed, seeing each other at school, at home all the time. I miss my sisters and brother. Story 7. My life was objectively worse during childhood. But what I miss is the hope I used to have, that even if things were shit now, I could be anything and everything. I know that I can change my trajectory, even as an adult, but it's really fucking hard to without uprooting so many of your responsibilities and risking your stability. Story 8. Summer used to feel like summer. I went to cool summer camps and made friends for a week or two and then never saw them again. But I was never that sad about it. Wasn't so stupidly hot all summer either. There were actually things to do besides work and talking and social media. I didn't have so much mental shit back then. People didn't piss me off so easily because we were all stupid. Ironically, I was a lot less bored than I am now despite having so many more distractions. Recess was fun. I really miss playing with my cousins on the weekends. Fall was cooler in both ways. People actually dressed differently from each other. My hometown used to have more trees and less overpriced houses. Story 9. My Nana and Papa's house. We spent most if not all of our holidays there. I miss the gas heater I used to lay in front of, the screened-in back porch that we could watch TV on, the playroom we'd watch PBS in and build houses with books. The guest room that my twin sister and I would sleep in was so cold that our pajamas would even be cold inside the drawers. The Friday nights there were when we'd spend the nights watching the new Nickelodeon shows. I miss all the drawings and endless creative ideas I had. And my Nana. I love Papa too, but he passed when I was still small. My Nana just died a few years ago. I miss that place and the memories. I only wish I was old enough to remember it more. Story 10. I miss my friends. I miss the thrill of something new, having a crush. I miss hanging out with siblings, summer vacation, street hockey, swimming, riding my bike to my friend's house and knocking on their door to see if they're home. I miss playing baseball with my dad. He was my little league coach. I grew up in the 1990s. High school was so damn fun. Story 11. Christmas. Early to mid-2000s, Christmas was something else. That feeling of leaving school early, going to see the lights, watching the old movies and hearing the old songs, the Christmas parties, staying up late without a care in the world. Christmas doesn't feel the same anymore. The whole family used to come together. Now we have a half of the family that doesn't come down because they don't feel like it. Story 12. Food that was real and flavorful, including but not limited to milkshake, ice cream, sorbet, bun, smoked sausage, cotton candy, chocolate mousse, sour cream, milk, fruits/veggies that smelled and tasted like they should, and not just fake pretty things. PPL who are no longer here and shared experiences with them. I miss my favorite puddle in the yard I would always go to check the depth of LOL. I miss 2 trees that were cut down. One in the front of the house I would climb onto, one in the back. It always had birdies singing. Story 13, I miss the internet being only for people that were intentionally there, aka smart people that cared. Oh, how did that golden era warp my view of what average people actually are? I grew up not understanding how 30s fascist Europe happened. Today, I'm impressed that I got a childhood without in-my-face exposure to those people, even though they were all around me waiting for their chance to try again. Story 14. I remembered on Saturdays my stepdad would go to Costco and came home with their rotisserie chicken. My brother and I would have it with barbecue sauce while watching cartoons all morning. I think about those moments all the time now because I went no contact with my mom since she disowned me 3 years ago, and my stepdad took her side. Story 15. My methods are not healthy, but they have helped me a little at least. I try to keep my mind busy as much as I can. I started a course to learn another language. I focus on my work to keep myself busy whenever I can. I try to do many things that leave me physically and mentally tired so that I can fall asleep from exhaustion as soon as possible and not give myself time to overthink. It's not healthy, it's not comfortable, I don't like it, but it's the only thing that has helped me a little to at least not fall into so many depressive thoughts or remember the reason for my depression. Please, don't do this. Try to reach professional help. Story 16. I miss going on vacation with my parents and lining up all my webkins to decide which one would get to come with me. I miss the weird mosquito netting thing I put up around my bed because it made me feel safe. I miss being able to read a book a day and enjoying it. I miss eating dinner with my parents every night without thinking about the calories. I miss knowing I always had someone to run to when I got scared. I miss not being severely mentally ill. I miss feeling like I had time. I miss feeling like I was put here for a reason and I would grow up to do big things, whatever I wanted. I miss me. Story 17, TBH, nothing much. Parents were unavailable and neglectful, bullied at school causing terrible mental health, poverty solely because my dad is insanely irresponsible. I guess I was more energetic back then because my now chronic illness was only mild and episodic, and my dad never took me to the same doctor more than once. Tests were out of the question. RIP my gallbladder and my stomach is trying to join it. As an adult, I've prioritized creating stability and comfort for myself. My health should improve as I work with my current doctor. Parents are divorced and isolated because they suck as people. Story 18. Never wearing shoes in the summer and running around in the grass, standing in the lake and getting minnow pedicures before they were a thing. I loved the little tickles on my toes, swimming until you were purple and freezing and pruny. And then mom would make me get out, make me a tuna sandwich for lunch, and I'd fall asleep in front of the TV wrapped in a wet towel. I live in a major city and would give anything to be able to walk in the grass without my shoes on. Story 19. Most of my childhood took place in the 1990s. My greatest memories usually consist of me and my parents prior to their divorce in the early 2000s, and my mother's declining mental health. A few memories that stand out to me were my trips to Disney World, Florida, watching Magic School Bus, Arthur and Sesame Street with my siblings, and going to Chuck E. Cheese, only to order a countless number of breadsticks and pizza comparable to cardboard. I'm 33 years old now and still wish I had that same naivete about the world. But alas, I'm not nearly as idealistic about life as I used to be. Story 20. Simply having free time. I feel nowadays I'm just rushing to do house things till it's time to sleep. And school, getting to see your friends every day, and actually getting to learn something new and change your worldview. As a mostly stop, I hardly interact with people on the daily. Even if I do, it's hardly ever friends, just small talk with a barista or something, and have no time to learn or read. Sigh. Story 21. For real. I miss not having a phone or internet at all. I many sound like 30Y/O or maybe 40, but I am 22. My age people had access to internet and other things when they were kids, but I thank my parents because they didn't give me a phone until I was 18. And now I really miss not having a phone, and the day was way more longer than it is now. And used to play and have fun with my sisters, mom, aunt, or even play with neighbors. Now, even at a family gathering, everyone is sticking their noses to their phones, and it really hurts to see. Story 22. I do not miss being mired in a dysfunctional environment, one I would only begin to process in my mid-20s when trying to figure out why I hated myself so much. Roof overhead, food in mouth, complete lack of attunement or meaningful emotional nurture. But the fries they used to have at Carl's Jr. were pretty good. Frispos, I miss those. Story 23. Mostly all the fun I had, and excluding whenever unfun stuff came up, I had nothing to worry about but the next fun thing to do. Wish I had that in my adult life. and not having any obligations for anything. Becoming an adult, that changes. That is, you're looked at as either a loser or that something's wrong with you if you don't have a job, education, or some other things, like if you still live at home. I think that's kind of gone away, since a lot of adults can't afford to live on their own, or they choose to live at home because it saves money. But I think there's still some people think that someone's a loser or something if they live at home, even if they don't say it. Story 24. My grandparents and their farm. My summers were amazing, and I wish all kids could experience them. It was the late 70s. My mom and my cousin's parents would drop the three of us off at our grandparents' house, and we'd spend the whole summer there with them. We had to work too. It wasn't all fun and games. It was a working farm, and there were expectations that came along with that. But man, it was the best. We'd ride our bikes until the streetlights came on. We took our .50 to the local convenience store and filled up little paper bags with candy. We hung out with our friends for hours in the fields or the woods. We rode our old go-kart. We went for long walks, shot our BB guns. We went fishing. We rode around in Granddaddy's pickup truck or shelled peas with grandmother. My cousins and I talk all the time about our magical summers, and we all wish our kids could have experienced it. Story 25. I miss going to school and sleep in class. I miss my parents' allowance. I did start working at age 12, and I had fun working and helping out my family in their business. I don't have a salary. I was still a kid, and biscuits and soft drinks were my salary. I work at a motel, and I had fun collecting condoms, then reselling them to my friends. Fun times. Story 26. For context, the years follow my age, so I'm 24. Old Boomerang at night and the day and morning cartoons 2007 to 12. Old Cartoon Network, the cartoons were legendary. Disney XD at night in 2004. 07, the spin-off cartoons to our favorite Disney movies. The summer, going to the pool and hanging with friends before and after baseball practice and games. The taste of the concessions while after being in the pool while the sun kissed our skin. And winter breaks. Christmas presents especially new clothes so you could show them off at school and sleepovers, especially during whiteouts. Story 27. I have very happy memories of living in a bungalow in Chicago with my mom, sister, and grandparents after my mom left my dad. He was really mentally abusive. She left and we moved in with my grandparents. My mom and I had to share a room for a year or so. Before they bought the bungalow, they had a condo. And the first nights there, we had to sleep on the floor in the extra room. Then they bought the house. I hated it back then and wished for a normal family and a big house in the suburbs like we used to have. I went to a private school, but I hated it so much because I wanted to go to the type of JR High you'd see the kids on TV shows going to. They'd wear what they wanted to school, have a cafeteria, etc. It wasn't the normal life I wanted as a kid. I wanted both my parents, stability and consistency. I had a hard time. But whenever I think of my childhood in that bungalow, I smile. Those were the best years of my childhood, and I didn't even know it then. It was 3 RD8 the grade. I have so many great memories of my family, the neighbors, us kids playing outside for hours and hours, playing basketball in the alley, playing running bases. My neighbor letting me use their computer to go in AOL chat when it first came out. I met some creeps, didn't even realize it then. My dad didn't pay child support, so one Christmas my sister and I each got a new winter coat and a doll, which wasn't a common thing. We'd get a few things at least, but that year my mom couldn't afford much. That's one of my proudest stories. When my kids start acting like brats, I tell them this story. I got a coat and a doll, and I was happy as could be. Now shut it. It's my, I walked 100 miles to school in the snow story. LOL. I'm going through it right now, and I know like years from now I'll look back and feel the same about the present as I do about my childhood. So I keep reminding myself that one day I'll look back on today and smile. Story 28. I miss the way my mom was as I was small. Now, at almost 65 years old, she's bitter and broken by the world. She's an alcoholic and a completely different person when drunk. I am 42 years old and want to cry like a baby when she starts to scream and want to sink into the ground to vanish. I miss the times when her hugs were warm, when they meant security and shelter, when I was not scared of her, when I didn't hate her, and when I actually could handle being in a room with her for more than a few minutes without becoming scared of her hurtful comments and bitter remarks. I miss my mom as she still was my mom. Story 29. Waking up at like 13 on a crisp New England fall Saturday morning, smelling my mom's pot of sauce on the stove, hearing my dad blowing leaves outside. In a minute, my brother will saunter in and ask me to play wiffle ball with him. Then we'll pop in Mario 64 and play until dinner. I've had a very isolated adulthood, and I've never for a moment felt as emotionally secure as I was then. Likely never will again. Story 30. There are a lot of things, but one that I don't hear a lot about from people is not thinking about being single or in a relationship. Now, even though I enjoy being single for the most part, when I see my friends getting married, have kids, or just listening to them talk about their partner, I get some sense of heartache. I just miss when that wasn't a thing. Story 31. Visiting my family in Germany every summer. Just Germany in general I miss. At the time I hated going because I literally went the whole summer from June, August, but now I miss it. The last time I went was in 2018. Most of my family is unfortunately gone, but I would love to show my son where I spent summers, and to show him where his family is from, and to visit my cousins and their kids. Story 32. Aw man, I was telling my daughter, who was 6 the other day, riding your bike around town until the streetlights came on. She was shocked. I cannot leave her in my car to run back into the house, fearing the neighbors would say something. I was born in 1986, the 90s, and the second child. My parents allowed me to be free to run around town because everyone knew everyone in my town, 45 minutes north of NYC. We live in Georgia now, north of Atlanta. That ish could never happen now. Story 33. Going to the playground and hanging out with all my friends, bike gang, no social media, constant internet. No constant supervision or worry that you're going to end up a viral video on someone's TikTok. Also, fireflies and mourning doves. Maybe it's where I am in the world, but I specifically remember fireflies everywhere and hearing the mourning doves coo all the time. And now I never see fireflies or hear the mourning doves. Story 34. I miss playing pretend and with imaginary friends. And I miss when ideas for stories flowed freely from my mind and I couldn't wait to write it all down in a shitty fan fiction and post it on fanfiction.net to get validation from other kids and teens. I miss being so creative that I always had another story or idea or something inside my head or a way to entertain myself with just my mind. I don't think of myself as a very creative person anymore, and anytime I try to do creative things like write or draw, it doesn't feel the same. Now I know what things I'm doing poorly or wrong, and it's all I can focus on. I miss being able to be creative without limitations and no care for mistakes or what others would think about my projects. I feel like I've lost a lot of my artistic ability I had in my youth because I spent my later teen years and early adulthood trying to fit in. I'm almost 24, and when I look back, one of my biggest regrets in life was taking time off of creative endeavors that I had so much passion for as a kid. Who cares if my writing is sometimes garbled and my paintings barely resemble things in the real world? Doing those things still bring me joy and let me relive my childhood in a soft way that almost feels like it again. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, like it. Be sure to write comments and share your stories.